Hello there, consciousnesses. This is Deus Ex Machina. Again, I am actually God and no one can actually argue with me. I'm right about everything. Also, I'm telepathic. All of you are rotten pieces of shit. And so basically, I'm going to turn a hopeless situation into a happy ending. And I'm telepathic. All right? And so I know that people are going to think I'm lying. I'm going to reel off a long list of things I'm not lying about. My official SAT in October 2018 was 1520 out of 1600. Nearly a perfect score. One of my practice tests before I took the real exam was a 1580 out of 1600. Subject tests for math level 2 and physics were perfect 800s. As a freshman undergraduate, I had an idea to combine two laboratories, to 3D print ion traps to make a quantum computer, to utilize the two-photon lithography direct laser write procedure from one lab to print sort of ion traps for it, which magnetically confine a quantum bit or qubit, which is an ion, for quantum computing applications with lasers. Then I got an undergraduate Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, double minor in Computer Science and Physics, with a 3.7 out of 4 GPA. All right, and then basically, I did all that while working part-time jobs and getting scholarships to finance it. For Fourier analysis, which is a moderately advanced mathematics course, in my undergrad, I skipped all of the lectures. And I simply read the textbook in my own time, did the problem sets, and I show up to the first midterm, I topped the class, I solved all the questions and the bonus question, and so my exam is on the top. With a 16.5 out of 16, I topped the whole class, even though I skipped all the lectures. All right? Then I got into Northwestern for grad school, master's in electrical engineering. All right? I'm not a liar, I'm also telepathic. And so in relation to the claims in regarding to the size of my dick, because I'm telepathic, I know a bunch of brains are going to want to say I'm 4 inches. All right? Now, again, here's all the truth. For me, I actually am God. It's not even a joke. And so I can do almost anything, and as you can see me on this channel doing almost anything. I'm hilariously talented and can do almost anything. But anyway, and so basically I'm here to turn a hopeless situation into a happy ending, and I'm morally superior to everyone, and I'm also telepathic. Anyway, and so basically, my green fire tree count is over 800. All right, reforestation in Kenya and Haiti, employing Kenyans and Haitians, offsetting emissions of gasoline cars. I'm only 25. Post graduation, I got into a great grad school, rented different places in different states, and I leased a Tesla for over a year. And there's Tesla autopilot footage, and so on. Now, so on and so forth. Now, in the middle of nowhere, the Tesla was parked, beside a middle of a nowhere house with a Starlink on the roof. And so for a while, the Starlink would internet, the modem inside the house would connect to the Tesla, and the software updates for the Tesla would be provided via Starlink. All right? And so on and so forth. And so basically, this occurred, and then basically the Tesla became able to even do the edge case of very narrow and pothole-ridden rural gravel roads, via indeed, in part because of the manual driver data that I provided the company, and probably from my driving in this rural gravel road network, and so on. All right. Now, when you have a Tesla, there are three options. You can buy the whole thing, you can loan up to ownership, or you can lease it. When you lease it, you're paying monthly payments for 3 years, then you return the car to Tesla. All right. When you do loan up to ownership, you actually are going to have double the monthly payments of what it would be if you're releasing it, and it may take 5 to 6 years of higher payments to fully own the car, and then ultimately, when you own the car, each one of those 5 to 6 years you've been making payments on it in the loan paradigm. All right, the vehicle will depreciate by above 10%. And so leasing the car was fun for me while it lasted. And ultimately, there's some pretty epic content on the channel. Ultimately, Elon Musk is quoted as having said he wants to create an age of abundance for anyone. All right, correction. He wants to create an age of abundance in which anyone can have anything they want. And so basically, if Elon Musk wants to create an age of abundance where anyone can have anything they want, he cannot simultaneously have a net worth of over $800 billion, because ultimately, All right. Ultimately, all right. Basically, for that inequity to be resolved, ultimately people would have to have money to buy the company ownership or stock off him, right? And so that would simply be liquidating his company ownership, right? And so that's still money for him. Other people have to have money to get ownership off him. At some point, maybe with like a select number of people or people who we can vet, at some point, if he wants to create an age of abundance where anyone can have anything they want, he must in some way give away his company ownership or disperse his net worth among other consciousness to help bring about that age of abundance. And so people may not notice this contradiction, but it is a very serious contradiction. All right. But the age of abundance that he's talking about is facilitated in part by artificial intelligence and automation, leading to an unlimited economy and universal basic or high income for the citizens, so on and so forth. Now, anyway, on this channel, you can see me doing many things. Again, I'm not lying about any of this. You can see me playing Clair de Lune by Debussy. You can see me doing soccer tricks. You can see me doing a flying kick and martial arts. All right. And you can see me dancing like Michael Jackson smoothly. You can see me impersonating Nat King Cole, Frank Sinatra, and even Childish Gambino singing, I believe, Earn in my vocal impersonations. All right. The structure of my body and my weight and my muscle definition fluctuates over time. All right. So in some videos I could appear skinnier. Some videos I could appear more muscular. This, that, and the other. Throughout time. Anyway, now in some videos I could appear more handsome and have better grooming. Some videos I could appear, not the best grooming. All right. And so basically, all right, I'm not naive. I'm God. Okay. I know what I'm talking about, and so on and so forth. But anyway, now basically, infinite men who are insecure are going to try and call me naive, but I'm just God, and so I exist to turn a hopeless situation into a happy ending. Okay, and so on and so forth. Non-benevolent deism is the correct theology. You cannot pray or talk to God, but there does exist God. The God established the conservation laws of the universe, that being that the universe conserves energy, charge, and angular momentum. However, the most ironic thing is always what happens. And so the irony can be dark at times in this, that, and the other. Okay? And so, this, that, and the other. Let's see now. This, that, and the other. This, that, and the other. Now, indeed, I'm so smart that people may think me a liar. And so I'm also telepathic. And so I know that there are consciousnesses that are thinking that I'm 4 inches. And so basically there are Shore humans, then there are Grower humans. I'm a mixed light-skinned male. My unexaggerated barefoot height with no hair on top of my head is 6'3.5" inches, precisely. When flaccid, when I'm warm and hydrated, my size will often be between 5 and 5.5 inches. If I am freezing, that flaccid could at times constrict to 4 inches. I grow to a peak non-bone pressed erect length of over 8 inches, and I grow to a peak bone pressed erect length of over 8.5 inches. Okay? Then shaft girth is maybe over 6 inches. Girth around head or glans of my dick is approaching 7 inches. That is my peak size. All right? And so basically, while that is true, okay, to be maximally sexually performant for a woman and to maintain your true peak size, many conditions need to be perfect. It needs to be warm, you need to be hydrated, you actually need to be aroused, okay? And preferably, you need to have strong legs and core and cardiovascular health and pelvic floor to be able to maintain your peak size during practical sex. Sitting down, standing up doesn't matter. Positionally invariant, where you can maintain your peak size. So, the very first time I had intercourse in my life was with a woman who was younger than me, in her 20s. I wasn't very good. I had no idea what I was doing. Second time I had intercourse, all right, was with a woman 11 years older than me. All right, I had a better idea what I was doing. The woman sat down with me on the couch, and I asked her, how many times did you orgasm? And she said, I do not know. It was like 4 times, and my legs were shaking, and so on and so forth. This is what she said. However, still, I was inexperienced. This is only the second time in my life having intercourse, and she happened to be 11 years older than me. All right, yet another time. All right, she's not on her period. She's obviously not losing her virginity. She reports to me that she has started bleeding, and she said that this is not period blood. She said that this could happen with her and men who are more endowed. And so basically, all right, and taking my peak size, at some point she started bleeding. She said she tends to get tighter as she gets deeper, and so on and so forth. All right. Now, ultimately, all right, the smallest I will ever be is if I'm flaccid and I'm freezing and it's 4 inches. My normal flaccid when warm and hydrated will lie between 5 and 5.5 inches. My unexaggerated, not bone pressed, will grow to over 8 inches. My unexaggerated, bone pressed, will grow to over 8.5 inches. All right, and so on and so forth. Now, all right, ultimately, in the past, you could call me a liar for saying my dick was 10 inches. But I think my brain did that in jest because of the nutty exaggerations of the pornographic industry. For example, Julio Gomez or The Break would exaggerate to 14 inches. However, based on the Reddit frame analysis community, Grok will confirm this for you. His true peak bone press was estimated at around 9.5. He also had a visible pelvic detachment at point of connection to body, extending visible length by 1 inch or more, and you can see evidence for it. And so, basically, Julio was a bit more than me, but he had a pelvic detachment extending length. All right, and then further, all right, he had a health condition called sickle cell anemia and priapism, causing swollen tissue. And so basically, he was one of the thickest performers because of that health condition and also his genetics. All right, and so ultimately, Julio's length was basically a little bit more than mine, but he had a pelvic detachment extending his length. And then his shaft girth was a little bit thicker than mine. All right, I'm over 6 around shaft, where he was more like 6.5 to 6.75 around shaft, with no sort of pumping or enhancement. However, his girth would taper off or thin towards his glands or head of penis, whereas I have a thicker head of penis. I approach 7 inches in circumference around my head, and so on and so forth, so on and so forth. And so basically, I decided I would become the most sexually knowledgeable and be able to be the most sexually performant I could ever be. All right, and so basically, I decided to get very, very fit. Do cardio 3 times a week for 45 minutes each one of those times, and take many standing pictures. And then I got a standing picture of myself, maximally erect, turned to the side. Then I found a picture of Julio or Break kneeling and performing insertion, and I decided to scale my picture to the picture of Break. Now, just like Julio was exaggerated to 14 inches when he was really around 9.5, Julio's height was exaggerated to 6 feet tall, when his barefoot is probably more like in the 5'10" to 5'11" range. For example, my barefoot is only 6'3.5" inches, whereas many people may think I was 6'5". And so basically, in this real image, which is also on my OnlyFans, and I actually do have fans on my OnlyFans, even one of my fans who has liked this picture to scale with myself and Break. This picture is to scale. I scaled it by making the distance from the back of my neck to my nose the same as the distance from the back of Break's neck to his nose. And the thigh that is closest to the camera, I made the pixel count defining the width of our thighs the exact same. All right, and so basically, ultimately in this picture to scale, I look highly comparable to Break, only realistically slightly less. This is Break kneeling, fully erect, performing insertion. He may tend to compress during insertion, and that pelvic detachment area may tend to compress slightly during insertion. Ultimately, in length, I look to be highly comparable, if not even about the same length. But in shaft girth, I'll be slightly thinner. But indeed, I have a thicker glans or head. Now, not all black men are going to be thick. There is Hollywood Catch, who is very thin, although an approved porn star on Blacked.com, and so on and so forth. If you are calling me a liar because of my past exaggeration to 10 inches, note that the truth is that my peak unexaggerated bone pressed will at least reach 8.5, and then Julio would exaggerate to 14 inches. And so in the picture to scale with myself and Julio, I look to be highly comparable, very close to him. And so my exaggeration to 10 inches in jest is ultimately mild, given the absurd exaggerations of the pornographic industry. Now, while all of this is true, all right, after I got very fit and took my standing pictures, here is what occurred. It was over Christmas, and I got extremely, extremely sick with a very bad high fever and a virus. And so for all the fools that think I'm naive, I'm not naive, I'm God, and I'm morally superior to all of you rotten people. And so basically, ultimately, When a male human falls very ill with a high fever and a flu-like virus, the following will happen to them. The high fever is going to kill the body's hydration level. It's also going to kill your sperm count. The virus in general will kill your energy levels and libido. Ultimately, when the body is very weak and congested nasally and in chest as well, the human male, when in survival mode, struggling with the fever and virus, will have erectile dysfunction and be very weak if attempting intercourse. Okay? And so for all the people that think I'm some naive fool, I'm not. I'm just God and morally superior to all of you. And so basically, I was sort of like on a tight schedule over the Christmas holiday, in which I could only be in the area to meet with a woman in a very short window of opportunity. Indeed, the woman as well said she could only be in town for a very short window of opportunity. And so in those, to match our constraints and availability, all right, I ended up agreeing to see her when I was extremely ill with horrible virus and high fever. Okay? And so the result was that out of my love of her, out of my desire to see her in the window of opportunity in which I could to match our schedules and availability, out of my love or desire to see her, all right, I saw her when ill. She precisely said to me that she was not afraid of getting ill, all right, because I told her I was ill, all right. And so what ensued is that I see her and we have intercourse. During that intercourse, I am pathetic, I am weak, I am sick, I have horrible erectile dysfunction. Reason why? My body is fighting a very high fever and a flu-like virus. Why did I decide to see her if I was so sick? Because ultimately, I was only in the area for a short amount of time. She said she may only be in town for a short amount of time. I was sick. Out of my desire to see her when I could, I saw her when I was sick, because I thought that seeing her, I wanted to see her. And so the result is now she gets evidence to call me a zero, all right? Because of course I'm so sick that I have horrible erectile dysfunction, and my size during that intercourse was pathetic, largely nearly flaccid, maybe 6 inches or even less, very weak, all right? And so then and then other consciousnesses now observing would say, oh, see, he's naive, he has horrible erectile dysfunction, see, he's a 4-incher, see, he's naive. But I'm not naive at all, I'm just pure, but my purity can be my flaw. And so basically, I was having intercourse with her when very sick and therefore horribly weak. That level of weakness and erectile dysfunction is abnormal for me. The picture where I look very close to Julio is actually my normal, healthy, potent size. All right? So on and so forth. Anyway, and so when I'm healthy, I am pretty close to Julio, and so on. This, that, and the other. All right? And so basically, I'm morally superior to everyone, and I also am not naive. I am just God. And so basically, if you love a woman, you may and you had a blip of time in which you could see her, would you do so, when you were sick? And the answer is, if you love the person, the answer is yes. And so basically, that kind of purity doesn't exist anymore. All right, and so it's gotten all very rotten. And so although I'm not a Christian, although I evolved into non-benevolent deism, all right, basically, I have realized the following dark truth about the world. It is evil. People are evil. People ultimately will find anything that they can to sort of play a game with someone, strategize against them, even plot against them. All right, and so basically no one can stop me because I'm pure, and so the emotions have already been set. The speech on sexuality is at approaching 8,000 views and approaching 30 likes, and so this is good because I'm right. In fact, in that speech, anything that I said that was slightly inaccurate, I amended it in the description to correct it. Okay. Now a bunch of insecure guys are going to call me a 4-incher because when I was very sick with a high fever and a virus, I was extremely weak with erectile dysfunction. All right. But that level of impotence or that level of ED was because of a high fever and virus that my body was fighting. All right. Anyway, and so now we get to the purity of love. All right, which is lost in the present time of ultimately impure and non-profound relationships. And so basically, all right, um, basically, ultimately, let's say that that the purity of love is gone out the window. And so, ultimately, I'm young. I do not have ownership of many things. I'm this, that, and the other. All right. And so basically, if a woman is going to deal with me, like when I'm sick, right? She would actually have to be, somewhat pure, but things are not pure in the present day or time. All right. And so as a grower, all right, if I'm ever sick with a high fever and virus, I will be horribly small. All right. This, that, and the other, because my body is weak. Right. Anyway, and the picture scale to myself and Julio when I'm healthy is real. Right. So I don't care whether that woman, would like report me or something, or this, that, and the other, or say she has evidence of me being a zero, this, that, and the other. I don't care what she does, because basically that evidence, it is basically ultimately entirely would be based on my size and sexual performance when ill with a fever and virus causing erectile dysfunction. All right, but fate simply loves irony. And so in Christian tradition, there is the commitment in Christian marriages of for better or for worse, for richer or for poor, and in sickness and in health. All right. And so when you found a person and you decide to commit to them, you're committing in sickness and in health. Okay. And so healthy me will be pretty darn close to Julio. Sick me with high fever and virus will be nowhere near Julio. All right. Anyway, so I can read everyone's mind. I can read every insecure guy saying I'm 4 inches and naive, and then I can also read all the pitiful minds of the women who are rotten and this, that, and the other, and the purity of love has gone out the window. All right. Anyway, and so I went from the woman saying that she had 4 orgasms with shaking legs with me, to the woman, bleeding due to my size, to getting very fit and taking standing pictures and figuring out how to maintain my peak size and getting a picture where I look pretty close to break, to then now falling very ill with a high fever and virus, and then getting reverted to a weak, limp, and largely flaccid 6-incher or less during, really somewhat woeful, pathetic sex when stricken by a high fever and virus, out of my desire to see her in the, again, little window of opportunity in which I could see her. All right, only a few weeks I'd be in the area, and she was only in town for maybe rest of the week. And so, to match our schedules, all right, what ensues by irony is high fever virus me is weak, has ED, and is nowhere near my typical peak potent size. All right? Because fate loves irony. Now, what is this lesson for me? This lesson to me is about the lack of purity in the present time. All right? And so, we had tried again. We had tried again in that window, but I was still not recovered. And so I was still not truly at peak size. I was still not, full energy. And ultimately my ability to regulate myself and, last long, no premature ejaculation was just subpar. And so the very first time with her, I lasted very long and withstood her bouncing on me for quite a long time. But, the times when attempted, when I was ill, were nowhere near as good. Now, all the competitive men in the world would use the time when I was struggling with this very high fever and virus to see evidence he's a 4-incher, he's naive. But no, I'm just God, and I'm morally superior to all of you. And so, as women, you should commit to your partner in times of sickness and in health. If your partner falls ill with a high fever and virus for 1 to 2 weeks, you should, stay committed to that partner and wait until he returns to health, instead of being unfaithful and so on and this, that, and the other. If you have extreme sexual hunger, but your partner is ill and cannot satisfy that hunger. Anyway, so on and so forth. Now, I don't care anymore about people trying to stop me or this, that, and the other. My speech will continue to blow up. The amendment of the information in the description will continue to blow up. I have a few fans on my OnlyFans, and then one of them has definitely liked the picture where I look very close to Julio. It's actually is to scale, by the way, and so on and so forth. Now, when a man has like shorter legs, all right, the size can look exaggerated, when a man has short legs. And so Julio, being maybe 5'10", 5'11", kind of compact, shorter legs, with a 9.5 bone press, and he gets to 9.5 with a pelvic detachment, exaggerate that to 14. Anton Harden, all right, he's about 5'7", and his bone press is really around 8.5, but you'll see material saying he's 11, all right? And so basically my bone press is at least 8.5, but in the past I said I was 10 because everything is exaggerated, and so is the porn industry is exaggerated. And so Julio would exaggerate to 14, and in the scaled image with myself and Julio, I look very close. And so my exaggeration to 10 is ultimately mild in the scheme of things. Now, many women who are rotten will think, oh, he's a white man, he doesn't have a bulge. But ultimately, there are grower humans. Even Usain Bolt, who is the world's fastest man and of African origin, in his tight sprinting pants does not have much of a bulge as he's about to prepare for a race. And so basically, he's very fit and he's the world's fastest man. He could be very endowed, but just a grower. All right, and so Usain Bolt wears his bulge in his tight sprinting pants, not very much. All right, he could be very endowed, but a grower like myself. All right, and so there are men who are very endowed, but growers who show no significant flaccid bulge, and so on and so forth. All right, now the world record holder for male penis size is not a black man. He's a white British man going by the name of Matt Barr, who is the largest medically verified bone press direct length, and basically he ultimately testosterone exposure during fetal development and ultimately genetics may lead to very endowed white men, and so on and so forth. Okay, now this, that, and the other. Okay, this, that, and the other. So yeah, anyway, so cool. The most ironic thing is always what happens, and so on and so forth. And so, quite simply, I'm morally superior to everything around me. And so this has been Deus Ex Machina, the man who will turn a hopeless situation into a happy ending. All of you rotten motherfuckers are going to know my name, Deus Ex Machina. All right.